Welcome back to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I'm Nick.
I'm Devin. Wow, that was so like news reporter.
We should do that. See, this is why we would be great with a we talked about it last episode. Morning radio show.
Morning radio show. Yeah.
People would listen to us, right?
Well, looking at our numbers, a few of you would listen to us.
Well, we would rise, okay?
Right. Which, by the way, I just want to make a quick call to action,
Please,
if I may.
Tell me more.
I would love for us to just get to 100 followers on all of our platforms. It's not for any money or anything like that. I just need access to the analytics. I think it's like TikTok and then like Instagram or whatever. It's just like, you can't look at your fucking numbers until you have 100 followers. And I'm like, damn you, these are my videos. I need the numbers. Give me the numbers. So, call to action.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, just make as many fake accounts as you can and get us to 100 followers.
Yeah, why can't we just create like bots?
We can't do that. That's illegitimate, but other people can. I can't control other people's actions. We're straight edge.
Yeah, baby.
Anyway, please continue. What were we going to say?
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I just don't think I would be good at the antics. I'd get too awkward.
What do you mean the antics?
You know when people like talk to the public on radio shows?
Yeah. Like having phone like call-ins?
Yeah, or they do like prank calls or like call-ins or
yeah.
I don't think I could do. I need like an internal sort of thing. I know that it's like engagement and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would be good at that.
Well, we could do like WBBM where like they have all their people call in not live. So like when they're answering trivia, like they'll take the callers off the air for trivia, or like they'll for like traffic tips and stuff like that. Be like, like people will call in. Sometimes they'll record the phone call and put you on air, but like they'd be like, there's a backup on the Stevenson. It sucks. I'm stuck in this traffic. Listen to you guys. And they'll be like, thanks for the tip, John. Here's the rest of your traffic report.
That's what I want.
We could do
I
that.
want pre-recorded stuff. WBBM.
Bong.
Thank you. We complete each other. What do you call it? Yeah, I think this is great. I think this is kind of like our audition to do that.
Okay, so we haven't had this podcast for a year. And you want to split off to a different audio project.
We have ASMR, OnlyFans. We have radio shows. We have Patreon. We're ready to go.
Yeah, all right, fine.
This can get blasted out of the water, okay? We need one. Everyone says we need one viral video. Anyway.
Someone will get blasted with our ASMR.
Speaking of getting blasted.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you think you could kill someone?
Holy shit. Is this related to your topic?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was going to, in my head, I was like, I'm not keeping this question in, but okay, we'll keep this question in. Do I think I could kill someone? What's the scenario? This is so intense.
I don't know. Just in any scenario. Do you think that you could kill someone?
I think if it called for it, sure, I wouldn't want to, but
not like for fun.
Well, then what's the point?
Or if you wanted to,
if it was a certain life or death situation,
sure,
yeah.
Like a self-defense kind of moment.
Yeah,
okay.
We're like defending Allie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, like, what if you were like in the military? Like, you got drafted to the military.
Well, yeah. Well, you're trained to.
Yeah. Fair.
So yeah.
Okay.
Why? You? How about you? Are you a murderer?
Who knows? I haven't already.
I know. What the fuck?
I think the same thing is like if it came down to it, of course.
Right, yeah.
Like I wouldn't just like be out hunting people. This isn't like Get Out. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm not Dick Cheney inviting you to go hunting in the woods.
Or
that's a
am
reference.
I?
To people, really? Some of our audience will get it.
Some of our audience, yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely the military. That's like,
yeah.
Again, wouldn't want to
in a certain situation, but sure.
Right.
Would you now, if it was like The Purge, do you lock yourself inside or do you go out and play?
No, I'd probably have a bunker and just like watch Lord of the Rings.
Wait it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I don't need to be in there because like then I'm putting myself in danger. I don't have.
Sure.
I know like the whole point. I think the point of the purge is like to go and do your darkest desires or whatever,
right? Without
any consequence. But it's like I don't got any of that. Like I'm just. My darkest urge is like not fucking working. Right. telling the boss, like, you know what, fuck off, I'm done. And then I would call my boss on purge day from my bunker. I'd like up an antenna so I could still get service.
Nice.
And then I would call my boss and be like, fuck you. And then I'd watch Lord
And that's
of the
your
Rings.
purge.
That's my purge.
So innocent.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
I'm
so
a
this,
gentle soul.
You really are. So this pulls into the topic for today.
Sure.
It's not the purge, but what do you know about Herman Webster Mudgett, aka H.H. Holmes?
God damn. Wow. Okay, so you're okay. I know he killed people in Chicago during the World's Fair.
Maybe.
He's mentioned a lot in the great book Devil in White City. He was around for he was in the city at the same time that the Ferris wheel was invented.
I fucking hate you. I hate you so goddamn much.
I couldn't look at you when I made that joke.
Oh my God.
What else?
See, this is because I was doing this, I was writing these notes, and I was like, oh, I'll just do like a quick offshoot of the World's Fair to like kind of give some context to like what was happening at the time.
He has so much about him, though.
He has so much about him, and then, but also I was like, there's just too much happening in the World's Fair now. I was like, I have to.
Right.
So then I split it. That's why.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all. He had some weird and like creepy creative ways of killing people, I believe.
Maybe.
Cremation, I think, might have been involved. I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay.
I say maybe, and you'll find out why I say maybe.
All right. Do you know him? Are you related? Maybe.
Maybe.
Fuck it. Go ahead. I don't know anything except for the Ferris wheel.
I hate you. So Herman Webster Mudgett, or Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, or H.H. Holmes, as he has been. It's a little bitch. That was very aggressive. I'm so sorry.
That was.
I said it very
for someone who maybe killed people.
So much diction in the microphone. He, as we kind of alluded to, is a main component of the Eric Larson's Devil in the White City, which we talked about in our World's Fair episode. And it kind of jumps between H.H. Holmes and the fair.
Right.
And he was a serial killer active between 1891 and 1894. So we'll dive in a little bit. It's interesting. Yes.
Sorry. My other thing was that some people think that he was Jack the Ripper. Like him and Jack the Ripper were one and the same.
I thought you didn't like conspiracy theories.
I don't. But that's just the thing I have heard.
I have heard that as well, but I think that there was never a point that he was in London during those things.
There's like barely any evidence.
I think it's just like speculation and
fun times.
Yellow journalism here, and then kind of the same thing there. So, he was a con artist and serial killer. His biggest things were insurance fraud, swindling, bigamous illegal marriages, horse theft, and murder.
Oh.
So
just murder.
Honestly, probably the least on that list. So born May 16th, 1861 in Hillmanton, New Hampshire. He was the third child in his family. Both his parents were direct descendants from the first English settlers in the area.
Oh, wow.
I know. Didn't amount for much, but sure.
No.
His father was a farmer, trader, and house painter, and also heavily drank, who was cruelly mistreated his family. So,
sets it up.
You can, if you want to do some psychological aspect of that. Holmes attended Phillips Exeter Academy and graduated with honors from Gilmanton Academy when he was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Holmes was bullied due to his high intelligence. He was once forced to stand in front of a human skeleton. You would be one of the bullies.
I'd probably be killed by him.
So he was once forced to stand in front of a human skeleton and place the skeleton's hands on his face to terrify him. So initially he was terrified. Remember, this is 1860s, okay? Or 1870s. They had some weird things back then. Okay?
Okay.
So he was initially terrified, as the incident was hoping for. Holmes later claims the experience was intriguing and helped him overcome his worries. But this also led Holmes to become obsessed with death and to the pastime of dissecting animals. One of America's other pastimes, I guess.
Right. Well, that's like one of the like big flags of like, oh, your kid's gonna kill people.
Yeah.
It's like he just starts doing weird shit with dead animals.
Baseball or dissecting animals. Right. Very Dexter,
Right.
you know? So July 4th, 1878, Holmes marries Clara Lovering. They have one son, Robert Lovering Mudgett. By 1879, finally at the age of 18, Holmes enrolls in the University of Vermont, but being dissatisfied with it after 1 year, stops going.
He gets married and has a kid before he's 18.
Correct.
Damn.
I know. Wild. I was like,
Fast Eddie's back then.
but also like, wasn't necessary. Like,
It's not like you had a bunch of money or anything.
right.
Like,
Like there's no doubt. Whatever.
Right.
So anyway, he transfers to the University of Michigan's Department of Medicine and Surgery in 1882.
More dead body stuff.
More dead body stuff. So in early 1884, Clara moves back to New Hampshire from Michigan as housemates of the family recall Holmes being physically violent with Clara. Holmes has little contact with her after this.
Cool.
My other thing is, what's wild to me is like back then, a lot of people, like even families, just shared a lot of housing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's bananas.
Yeah, everyone was just under one roof.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't afford shit.
Yeah, that's fair. And plus you're in college.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anyway, I'm glad we got that together.
Yeah.
Holmes graduated in June of 1884 with a mediocre performance. However, while he was there, he worked in the anatomy lab under the chief anatomy instructor, and they were said to have facilitated grave robbing to supply medical cadavers to the university.
Classic. Tale as old as time.
If the 1800s weren't anything, it was grave robbing. Holmes later admitted to using some of the cadavers to defraud life insurance companies.
That's hilarious. All right.
Holmes then had an apprenticeship under Norman Wright, an advocate of human dissection.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
You know when you have to advocate for human dissection?
Yeah, well,
Dissection?
I guess just science wasn't there yet.
I
It's
guess.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just weird to
would've
think that as
thought-
like a movement, you know?
Yeah. No, I thought like the study of human anatomy via dissection or whatever means would have already been around, but I suppose not. Probably because like religion.
Yeah. I think people were just kind of like, I don't know about that. And he was like, no, like, let's make it more welcoming.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. So
Concerning that you're fighting for it, but like the
some questions.
Right.
Yes, exactly. We might need to go back to Nauman, okay? So Holmes moved to Moores, New York, and a rumor spreads that he had been seen with a little boy who later disappeared. Holmes denies involvement, stating the boy went back to his home in Massachusetts. No investigation takes place, but Holmes quickly leaves town.
10-4.
Holmes then moves to Philadelphia, where he's hired as a keeper at the state hospital, which he leaves and ends up taking a position at a drugstore. While working at the drugstore, a boy died after taking medicine that was purchased at the store. Holmes, of course, denies any involvement and immediately leaves town. He was also then changes his name to Henry Howard Holmes, mainly to avoid being exposed by victims of his previous crimes, or so he says.
Right. Mm-hmm. Isn't it crazy that like back then you could just like skip town, change your name, and it'd be A-okay?
Wild. Like you can like the fact he has like a couple other aliases, and like
Right.
the fact that you can just be like, here's some documents that I just wrote.
Right.
That this is
me.
who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Insane. Like, and that's like kind of like the whole Catch Me If You Can sort of story. But I was like, that was
Right.
the 60s. There was even more stuff there. Like, but back then you could just be whoever you wanted.
Right, right. And I think that's what people might like romanticize about that time. Is like you
Yeah.
could be whatever you wanted to be.
True. I can't do that today.
No.
Can you imagine
I got a
having-
credit score chasing my ass down the street every day. Goddamn.
credit score. Wild. Okay, so Philadelphia, previous scams. Now he's H.H. Holmes.
Right.
So August of 1886, Holmes moves to Chicago under the pseudonym H.H. Holmes. He gets a job at a drugstore in Inglewood at Wallace Avenue and 63rd. He eventually buys the store from the owner, Elizabeth Holton.
Mm-hmm.
People like to say that he killed Elizabeth Holton, but there's no substance to that.
Right.
Later in 1886, Holmes marries 24-year-old Myrta Belknap, although he is still married to Clara. He filed for divorce a few weeks after his marriage to Marta. Like, he filed for divorce to Clara after he had married Myrta.
But H.H. Holmes isn't married to Clara.
Sure.
His other alias,
His original,
name.
his actual name,
Yeah.
the Mudgett is.
Right.
Correct.
Interesting.
But he tries to file for divorce, claiming Clara's infidelity.
Oh, okay.
Because his claims could never be proven, the suit went nowhere until it was dismissed in 1891. Because they were like, you're not pursuing this. So, dismissed.
Right.
Holmes and Myrta had one child together, Lucy Theodate Holmes, born July 4th, 1889, which I think is hysterical because him and Clara's anniversary is July 4th.
Oh.
And so he has his first daughter with his other wife on their wedding anniversary.
Oops. That's pretty funny. Can you imagine like tracing your lineage back to H.H. Holmes?
Horrifying. Horrifying.
It's like, I have evil in my blood. Yeah, right. Something awakens in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yikes.
So, quick side note, in 1894, Holmes marries a third person, Georgina Yoke in Denver, Colorado, when still married to both Clara and Myrta.
Jeez.
We love a bigamous, illegal marriage.
Love it. My favorite activity.
Truly. So the following year of the marriage to Myrta in 1887, Holmes purchases an empty lot across the street from the drugstore to build a 2-story mixed-use building.
Mixed use of murder.
Can I get a better voice for that?
Sure. Mixed use of murder. Is that better?
We'll work on it. Okay, yeah, we'll get back to it.
Work on it.
Warm up your vocal cords. He wanted to do apartments on the second floor and retail, including a new drugstore for himself on the first. For some reason, he decided not to pay the architects for the plans that they had drafted and got caught up in courts for it because they were like, "Hey, so we made these for you and you're using them. We need money."
Right. Pay us for our service.
Weird how that happens. By 1892, Holmes decides to add a third floor to the building to be used as a hotel during the upcoming World's Columbian Exposition.
A hotel for murder.
We're getting there.
I'm getting there.
We need more like Dateline.
Oh, you want more Dateline?
I want more Dateline.
Okay.
Yeah, than creepy.
What's my Dateline voice? It's a hotel for murder.
Perfect. Some say, and then like creepy music underneath. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Some say he used the hotel to lure visitors of the fair in order to kill them and sell their skeletons to nearby medical schools. It was also said that the third floor hotel was laid out like a maze with doors opening to brick walls, windowless rooms, and dead end staircases.
That's horrifying.
It sounds like the Winchester Mystery House. But also, like, imagine just opening a door and, like, brick wall. I'm out.
I'm in a cartoon.
Right, truly. So while this may play into the murder castle story, that is mostly not the case. However, there were some hidden rooms for furniture storage and an unfinished hotel due to disputes Holmes had with the builders.
Classic.
Weird side note.
Yeah.
Holmes did own a small factory he claimed was for glass bending, but it is not certain if the furnace was used for this purpose or for worse things.
Like murder.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
that was
a good. That was a spine tingling. I like that. I'm going to now go. Sorry, that just took me aback. Oh my God. So that's kind of like the leading up to kind of his beginnings of potential murders. Yeah. Right. So we're going to talk about some presumed murders.
Right. I like how you said potential, presumed. Maybe.
So these are presumed murders of his.
Of course.
Because he's actually only convicted of one murder.
Oh, good for him.
We'll get there. But good for him. Jesus. So Julia Smith, or Smythe, was the first one. 31 years old, the wife of Dr. Lawrence Elysius Ned Connor. Where'd the Ned come from? You know what I mean?
That's such a long name.
Like he went by Ned. But your name's Elysius. That's really cool.
What is Ned short for?
Or Acilius. Ned is short for like Nathaniel usually.
Really?
Huh. Or like Nedward.
I'm going to name my first kid Nedward.
But Acilius?
No, Acilius is way cooler, but it was probably like an immigration thing. Like, oh, I'm American.
I'm
Call
Ned.
me Ned.
Right, Ned Flanders.
Right.
So, so Julia and Ned, Dr. Connor, moved into Holmes' building and began work at his pharmacy at the jewelry counter. Julia worked at the pharmacy at the jewelry counter and also began to be Holmes' mistress. So Dr. Connor quit his job
Fourth
and
one.
moved away upon discovering the affair, leaving Julia and their daughter Pearl behind. Sad. Julia and Pearl remained living in Holmes' building, and Julia continued her affair with Holmes. Christmas Eve.
Is Holmes still married to
Myrta? Yes.
Myrta, and they still have their daughter?
They have their daughter, correct. But on the side,
Right.
he's hooking up with
Right.
Julia. Christmas Eve, 1891, both Julia and Pearl go missing. Initially, Holmes stated that she left unexpectedly to visit a dying sister. Then changed his story to she fled to avoid her ex-husband. Then later claimed she died of an abortion.
Dude, write it down. Get your
Bruh.
story straight.
Correct.
This isn't your first rodeo.
Come on.
You can't leave Chicago. You have so much real estate already.
What I really want is real estate. So Holmes was definitely an experience in abortions, although he had a medical degree, and so it's kind of presumed that he potentially did the abortion himself. Complications happened,
freaky, yeah.
and she died.
Right.
And then Holmes also later claimed that he poisoned Pearl to hide the circumstances of her mother's death. A partial skeleton of a child around Pearl's age was later found when excavating Holmes' cellar.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yikes.
Next victim.
Maybe.
Emmeline Segrand, who was 23 years old and began working in Holmes' building in May of 1892. So supposedly, she was hired as a secretary because she had connections to a doctor that was peddling a, quote, vaccine for alcoholism. You know that vaccine? It's more alcohol.
It's more alcohol. Right.
She only worked for Holmes for 6 months. She was also having an affair with Holmes. Who wasn't?
Okay,
He's
so,
not
like,
that attractive of a man.
I was going to ask.
No.
Is he like hot as fuck?
No,
Like,
he's not. He's not.
And
And
just
so it's
must
just like,
have like that silver tongue.
he's got the... Son of a
I meant
bitch.
for like charisma.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Yeah, he's not like a looker.
Wow.
So I don't know what happened. To your point, he's got to be a charmer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she started having an affair with him, although friends noted that the weeks leading up to her disappearance, she started to lose interest in Holmes and the affair. She's like, this was fun. I'm good.
Right.
She was last seen December of 1892. Holmes told her parents that she had left to marry a man named Robert Phelps, of no relation to Michael Phelps, that we know.
Right.
Authorities weren't having it and hypothesized that she had gotten pregnant and was another victim of a botched abortion that Holmes tried to cover up. Her skeleton was found at the home of a Chicago physician with the help of a man named M.G. Chappell, who admitted to selling 3 skeletons for Holmes. So her skeleton was found at a physician's house after M.G. Chappell had sold the skeleton from Holmes to this physician.
Right. And like how do you not like notice like there's a pattern starting to form where it's like, okay, people keep dying of abortions supposedly related to Holmes. I'm gonna pull this thread over here, and he's the murderer.
Murder. But again, no one's really
Maybe.
like, they're looking into it, but they're also kind of not, right? Because
they have
it's
a whole
all
affair to deal with.
But it's also disappearances. Like no one's like saying
Right.
like they went missing. Like
Right.
no one's like fully investigating. It's just like, oh, and it's 1890. No
You can
one's
pick
like
up and go across the country and start a whole new life.
exactly. And Holmes is a reputable person like in the area. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
So much excitement, Jesus,
I love learning.
about murder. Wilhelmina Minnie Williams was 24 years old and a one-time actress. I hate that they stated it like that. I was like, couldn't she have just been an actress?
A one-time
actress.
Wow.
I've only been on the stage once. So in
An extra in a vaudeville. All right.
truly,
Vaudeville is way too late for this, but go ahead.
no,
No, vaudeville.
later than this.
Yeah, vaudeville is like turn of the
turn of the
century.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
She never made it vaudevillian.
Damn. What a shame.
What a shame. And her name was Minnie.
Perfect.
Wild. So in 1893, Holmes either met her at an employment office or several years earlier in Boston under the alias Harry Gordon. And we'll get into why we think it might be Harry Gordon in a second. So Holmes hired Minnie at his hotel as his personal stenographer, because of course. While employed, Holmes convinces Minnie to transfer the deed of her home in Texas to, quote, Alexander Bond, an alias of his. And Holmes served as the notary on the deed transfer. And
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Then later signed that deed over to his business partner, Pitzel, under the alias Benton T. Lyman.
Wow.
So he's just like moving deeds all over the place.
Right.
But now he has a home in Texas.
Hey, that's pretty nice.
Sure. In April of 1892, Holmes and Minnie play husband and wife and rent an apartment in Lincoln Park. Later in July, Minnie's younger sister, Anna Nanny Williams. Why would you go by Nanny? Just go by Ann. Annie. Anna. Whatever.
Because Minnie and Nanny?
Gross. Visited Minnie in Chicago and ended up writing to her aunt that she was to go to Europe with, quote, brother Harry, a.k.a. Holmes. That's why they think it might be Harry Gordon situation. Brother Harry Holmes says you need, quote, from Nanny, brother Harry Holmes says you need never trouble any more about me, financially or otherwise. He and sister will see to me. I hope our hard days are over. End quote.
So she's dead.
Minnie and Nanny were never seen alive again. Holmes even using Minnie's name in later scams.
Wow.
So those are all of the presumed murders.
Maybe. Right.
Well, they're presumed.
Right. I'm just adding a maybe.
You hated my maybe, don't you?
Maybe.
Here are the suspected murders. These are different.
Okay.
Suspected is more like, oh, I think he could have done that. Presumed is...
There's a lot more
is
evidence.
Like maybe here. Presumed is there's more evidence. Yeah. So 1891, John Durrell, 68 years old, died in Holmes' drugstore. John collapsed shortly after Holmes, quote, or poured a, quote, black liquid down his throat, according to witnesses.
What the
But again,
fuck?
it's a drugstore, so people might be like, it might have been like a drug. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Foul play was
killing drug.
yes, one of those. Foul play was not suspected. However, in 1895, it was discovered that Holmes had profited from his death and from John's life insurance.
Oh.
1891 as well. Emily Van Tassel disappeared after working at Holmes' drugstore. Holmes later spoke of her in his confession, and she was placed on a list of suspected victims in 1897. 1892, Dr. Rustler went missing after having an office in Holmes' building. Holmes mentioned the killing in his confession. 1892 as well. Kitty Kelly was a stenographer from Holmes and went missing. 1893, John David went to visit the World's Fair and vanished, later declared legally dead.
Wow.
1893, Harry Walker wrote to his friends that he was working for Holmes and went missing after insuring his life for $20,000 with Holmes as the beneficiary.
Holy shit.
Which $20,000 at the time is a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I was going to say.
10 grand I think ends up being, I think I have a note in here, but 10 grand ends up being like $315,000. Like bananas. 1894, George Thomas was taken to a Mississippi swamp by Holmes and his business partner, Petzel, where they killed George and disposed of the body. Holmes later confessed to this crime to Myrta, his wife. I know. 1884, Milford Cole disappeared after receiving a telegram from Holmes in Maryland to come to Chicago. Weird. 1895, Lucy Burbank's bank book is found in a chimney flue in Holmes' building with human hair attached to it.
Oh.
I know.
Why? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. But also within the 1890s, Holmes claims to have killed 2 people in Lake County, Illinois, later confirmed when the remains of an unknown man and woman were found on a farm in 1919.
Wow.
So those are all the suspected and presumed murders.
So how many is that total?
He claims to have killed 27 people.
Wow.
And attempted 6 murders.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what he claims. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Sure.
So now we're going to go into the Pitzel killings. So Benjamin Pitzel is his business partner.
Right.
And we'll talk about that in a second. But the Pitzel murder is like what he is convicted of.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
So Holmes was working in the Chemical Bank building on Dearborn for a period of time where he met his soon-to-be close friend Benjamin Freeland Pitzel, 38. Chemical Bank, actually, side note, was the third largest bank in the U.S. by the end of 1995, and in 1996 acquired Chase Manhattan Corporation in a estimated $10 billion merger.
Wow.
So Chemical Bank is now known as J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. They felt that was a better name than Chemical Bank.
I was assuming it was like a bank for chemicals, not a money bank.
No, a bank. Yeah, wow. I know that. I thought the same thing too. And I was like, I need to look into, like, when did this kind of like disband? I was like, it couldn't have been popular. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, damn.
Okay.
Unless it was like Chemical. You know, like it was fancier.
Schmeckle.
So Pitzel was a carpenter with a criminal past who was also working in the building by displaying a coal bin he had invented.
Okay.
So a criminal and an inventor.
Best
Love
kind.
It. It's balance. It's all about balance. Holmes used Pitzel for a series of schemes, a DA later describing Pitzel as, quote, Holmes' tool, his creature.
All right.
Yikes. What a tool. So got him. After some time, Holmes flees Chicago in July of 1894 after insurance companies are hoping to prosecute him for arson.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Holmes heads to Fort Worth, where he's conveniently had the deed to a house down there signed over to him. Remember that woman? He had signed her over, Minnie.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes, Texas. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Not the other Fort Worth that you were thinking of. So he attempts to build another building there, but it goes incomplete after, once again, not paying his suppliers and builders. I don't know why he feels like
you'd think you'd learn, right?
You just got a $20,000 life insurance.
I was going to say, you have so much money from selling skeletons, insurance fraud,
right?
All this other shit.
Pay some people. You can murder some more people. Come on.
It's a short-term investment here.
Jesus. Ugh. It sounds like his passion was a little ill-fit. Whatever. So later that month, Holmes is arrested and briefly jailed in Missouri for selling mortgaged goods in St. Louis.
Oh.
So while in jail, Holmes met an outlaw, Marion Hedgepeth, who Holmes asked him for a lawyer that could be trusted so he could fake his own death and swindle the insurance companies out of $10,000.
Damn.
Holmes was sent to Jephthah Howe, probably was a hoe though, who loved the plan, but the insurance company became suspicious and refused to pay. Holmes didn't press the claim, but moved the scheme to Pitzel instead. He's like, all right, so it didn't work out for myself, but let's try my business partner and see how that would go, right?
Right.
So Pitzel was to fake his own death so that his wife could collect $10,000 on his life insurance policy. And here's my note of $10,000 is about $315,000 to $350,000 today.
Okay.
Inflation calculators only go back to like 1913 is what I could find.
Fair.
So the plan was to take place in Philadelphia, where Pitzel would set himself up as an inventor under the name B.F. Perry. So they're like, go to Philadelphia. That's where we're going to do the shtick. You are now B.F. Perry, and you are a inventor.
Okay.
Not too far off. He invented a coal bin.
Exactly.
So B.F. Perry would then be killed and horribly disfigured in a lab explosion.
Okay.
The hijinks ensue.
Right.
So Holmes needed to find the right cadaver, was his part of the whole scheme. Everything was starting to be set in motion when Holmes decided, I'll kill Pitzel instead.
Okay.
In September of 1894, by knocking him unconscious with chloroform and setting his body on fire while Pitzel was alive, using benzene.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was like, it's fine. Forensic evidence presented at Holmes' trial showed, however, that chloroform had been administered after Pitzel's death. It was thought that Holmes tried to stage a suicide in case he was charged with murder. Which I was like, I don't know how you stage a suicide when he was burned alive, but also chloroformed, but also knocked on. No idea.
Yeah, that's really bizarre.
Correct. But I was like, okay, sure. Another one of your failed plans. So Holmes actually collected the insurance payout for Pitzel and then turned his attention to Pitzel's wife, Carrie Alice Canning.
Does he bone her too?
I don't think he bones her, but he like saddles up next to her. I know, we're going to get into it. So Carrie Alice, I could just call her Carrie, but I like Carrie Alice.
Is good.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Carrie Alice was not doing well health-wise, and actually sent her eldest daughter Alice to identify the body for the insurance claim. And Alice is like 13 or 14 at the time. Yeah, like horrifying. Holmes convinced her later into allowing 3 of her 5 children to be placed in his custody.
What?
Because he was like, you have 5 kids, like you're not doing well health-wise.
Right.
You got some money, let me help take care of these kids and like put them in my custody, like you relax, like da-da-da-da. She was like, oh, okay, like you were my husband's business partner.
Right.
Right? So She does. Alice, 13, Nellie, 9, and Howard Robert, 7, are all placed into Holmes' custody. So Holmes...
They're all dead.
Holmes took them...
I know where this is going.
You don't know how, though.
Maybe.
Holmes took them and traveled the northeast and into Canada. He brought Carrie Alice actually along a parallel route, all while lying to her about her husband's death, saying he was in hiding in London. He's like, your husband's not dead. Like, it was all a ruse. He's actually hiding in London. He's fine. Right? So they're traveling all the... And he's like, yeah, you can come. Like, why don't you just, like, take this route instead? Because we're going to do some stuff over here. And so kind of scooting by this parallel route, he's using various aliases along the way and lying to her about the whereabouts of her 3 now missing children. At one point, he got sloppy, and him and Carrie Alice were only a few blocks from one another in Detroit before they went into Canada.
Wow.
Gotta be careful. All while this is happening, he is also living with his current wife, Georgina, and she has no idea of any of this is happening.
How can you be so blind? Jesus.
Well, Georgina's just like, waiting for him to come home. Like,
right.
What the fuck she know? I was
Right.
like, but still wild. So Holmes confesses to the murders of Alice and Nellie in October of 1894 by forcing them into a large trunk, drilling a hole into the top, and hosing gas into the trunk to asphyxiate. Whatever.
Asphyxiate?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The girls. He buried their bodies in the cellar of his rental house in Toronto.
Fuck.
Frank Gayer, a detective with the Philadelphia Police Department, was assigned to investigate Holmes and later found the 3 missing children. So Gayer eventually traced Holmes to Toronto and discovered Alice and Nellie's bodies in July of 1895. Gayer then traced Holmes to Indianapolis, where he had rented a home with Howard, and after some time, October of 1894 is when it was, killed Howard by drugging him, dismembering his body, and then burning his body.
Jesus.
They found Howard's teeth and bones in the chimney.
Okay.
Correct. So now we're going to talk about the capture of Holmes.
Okay.
So they got him.
Right.
Maybe. Well, it's funny you say that. So the Pinkerton National Detective Agency tracked Holmes to Boston, and he was arrested in mid-November of 1894. So they capture him before Gayer discovers the bodies of the children, just to make that clear.
Right.
So he's like tracing and like trying to find Holmes and kind of traces him to Toronto and Indianapolis and all of that. But the Pinkerton National Detective Agency arrests Holmes in Boston in November of 1894.
Okay.
Just so we're aware.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because he had killed Howard in October of 1894.
Okay.
So just a month later. They were able to find him due to a warrant for horse theft in Texas, which was great because he was ready to flee the country with Georgina, his 3rd wife. She still had no idea any of this was happening. He like arrested Holmes, and she was just like, "Why? What's happening?
Where
What's
are
going
you
on?"
going?
Right? It's
Jesus Christ,
girl,
come on, sweetie.
So. The cigarette hanging out of your mouth. So after Gayer had discovered the bodies of Alice and Nellie, Chicago police began to investigate Holmes' Inglewood property, which was now referred to as the Castle, aka Murder Castle, crafted by the tabloids.
The Murder Castle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So only circumstantial evidence was found in the home, and no clear murder charges could be brought to Holmes. It's all circumstantial.
How?
It could have been anyone.
There are so... All right.
Common sense says it couldn't have been anyone, but they can't prove that it was directly Holmes who killed these people. So what they found was a piece of human bone, which they believe belonged to Julia, remains of a child, which they believe was Pearl, burned gold watch chain and dress buttons they believe belonged to Winnie, tuft of human female hair in the chimney. So, however, Holmes would solely be tried for the murder of Benjamin Pitzel. So, October of 1885, Holmes was found guilty of the murder of Benjamin Pitzel and was sentenced to death. After his conviction, it was not only clear that Holmes had also killed the 3 Pitzel children, but he had then confessed to 27 murders between Chicago, Indianapolis, and Toronto, on top of 6 attempted murders.
Wow. I mean, like, you're already going to hang. Might as well
say it all.
Let it all out.
Which is interesting, though, because Holmes was paid $7,500 by the Hearst newspapers for his confession.
Oh.
Although he confessed to these murders, some people he claimed to have killed were verifiably still alive.
Huh.
He was like, I killed all these people. And they were like, so this one's still alive? This one's still alive?
That's weird.
This one's still
Interesting.
right. So very strange. That's why it's kind of like up in the air, right? May 7th, 1896, Holmes was hanged. He remained calm with no signs of fear or anxiety and asked that his coffin be contained in concrete and buried 10 feet deep so that grave robbers would not steal his body for dissection.
Okay.
But also, like, just like the psychological signs of like you are going to be hanged and like no fear, no anxiety, calm, going to. Maybe he made peace.
Yeah, I guess.
Holmes' neck did not break when they hanged him, and he slowly strangled to death for 15 minutes.
Oh.
Which, fine. You killed 3 children.
Right.
And
I
many
know.
more people.
I don't feel sorry for him.
Right.
Right. Just like, that's rough.
And you know people watch.
Of
That's
course.
a crazy thing.
Yeah.
I can
public
imagine-
executions were just like, wahoo.
Like, I remember learning about the, what's her name? Anne Boleyn's, like, public murder, and it drew, like, hundreds of thousands of people. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
What a whatever. So, could you imagine doing that now? Wild. You're like, kind of. It was later discovered.
Did you see January 6th?
Yeah, fair. They had that gallows set up.
Yep.
So it was later discovered that Hedgepeth, the outlaw that Holmes met in Missouri when he was arrested, was pardoned for informing on Holmes.
Oh.
He was like, I got your guy. Don't you worry. So before we close out, I want to talk a little bit about the murder castle.
Yes.
And like why it was like kind of sensationalized and all of that, right? So while all of this is sensationalized, exaggerated, and or fabricated by tabloids and yellow journalism, it's still eerie and kind of creepy, right? So some accounts say the body count could have been between 133 to 200 people in the castle.
Jesus.
While Holmes gave contradictory accounts of his life, he at one point states that he was innocent and was possessed by Satan, if you will.
All right. Well, I guess it's like not the Satan shit. That's bullshit. The number though, if you had, would you say 2 weeks ago, 27 million people?
27 million people, yeah.
Going through the fair?
The 200 of them is nothing.
That's a drop in the lake.
Truly.
Right.
Or the Great Basin, if you will.
Or Lake Michigan.
Pick a body. What do you call it? So the castle was reported to include soundproof rooms, secret passages, a disorienting maze of hallways and staircases, trap doors over chutes that drop victims to the basement. And then in the basement, there were acid pits, pits of quicklime, and a crematorium.
What's quicklime?
Quicklime is used to it's used to like dissolve a body. Basically, it just like eats away at everything.
Super
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't think of
you're
a term. Anyway, so that was in the basement. Creepy. So in August of 1895, 2 men were seen entering the back of the building at night, and about a half hour later fled the scene, followed by several explosions, and the castle caught on fire.
Oh.
The building survived the fire, though, and had a caretaker, Patrick Quinlan. So Quinlan, unfortunately, committed suicide by strychnine and left a note that read, quote, "I couldn't sleep."
Wow. That place was so fucked up that he was just like, I need to kill myself.
Correct.
Wow.
His family believes he was being haunted and was suffering from hallucinations.
Probably.
Yeah. Eventually, the murder castle was torn down, and now it's a post office.
All right.
Correct. In 2017, Holmes' body is exhumed for testing after being believed he may have escaped his execution. Because his coffin was contained in concrete, his body did not compose normally, with his clothes almost perfectly preserved and his mustache intact.
Yeah.
It was proven to be Holmes, though, through his teeth, and he was reburied.
Wow.
So the last thing I'll say as we close out here is Adam Seltzer wrote a book on Holmes. And states, quote, "Just killing several people isn't necessary enough for most definitions of a serial killer. More often, it has to be a series of similar crimes committed over a period of time, usually more to satisfy a psychological urge on the killer's part than any more practical motive.
Right.
The murders we can connect Holmes to generally had a clear motive. Someone knew too much or was getting in the way and couldn't be trusted.
Yeah.
The murders weren't simply for love of bloodshed, but a necessary part of furthering his swindling operations and protecting his lifestyle," end quote. So they're like, yes, he killed a lot of people, but it seems like he felt like he did it more out of practicality and like to continue and kind of have this life of like fraud and all these things and kind of gain monetary value.
Right. He was selling skeletons. So it's like,
right. Then it was like, I need to feel someone die. I need the bloodshed of it and things like that. So it's interesting. So some people call him a serial killer, some people don't, because the only conviction he has is technically of Benjamin Pitzel, right? Like we presume and we know and we suspect and all of these things, but it's just kind of this toss-up of what defines a serial killer. Body count or, psychological or a combination. So that's where I leave it.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a dark comedy movie made about H.H. Holmes.
So Scorsese and DiCaprio tried to create the movie Devil in the White City back in 2017.
Okay, yeah.
And it kind of fell apart. And then they tried to do a limited series with Hulu and stuff. And then that stalled out in 2021, I think, something like that, which still would have been a great series. But there's not too much from a kind of cultural standpoint on his stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see though. Well, maybe you can write it.
Hollywood, here I come.
Did your wife major in storytelling? Bachelors. What do you call it? So that's H.H. Holmes. So and that's the reason I kind of said maybe a lot, right? Because it's just yes. Definitely. But also speculation, but also exaggeration, and so it's all kind of
fair.
Yeah, it's all up in the air. Right. It's a good at the end of the day, horrifying that all these people died.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also just a good story. I mean, it shows kind of the times people could just speculate wildly.
Yeah, definitely.
And just things would just run rampant.
Well,
that's it.
Those are the times.
Well, thanks for sticking around. We'll let you sit and process that one. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure to comment, subscribe, all the things on social media. You can find us at WDYK_podcast. That's all I got for you, and we're out.
Peace.
Bye-bye.